Good. All right, great. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's the last session of the day, so hopefully you all will learn something and have some takeaways that you can walk out tonight. So today we are here to talk about Bundesliga's generative AI journey. So for those who doesn't know what Bundesliga is Germany's premier football league. And when I say football for this session, we are actually referring to soccer for our American audience. So we will be calling football throughout the session. With that, let me introduce myself. My name is Elif Dogan. I am Principal Engagement Manager at AWS Professional Services team. I'm responsible for our Bundesliga AWS tech roadmap. I'm here with two of my colleagues, Lukas Rosnovic, who is the head of strategic corporations at DFL, or Deutsche Fußballliga, and Bastian Zuber, who is the CEO of DFL Digital Sports. So here's our agenda for today. Before we even talk about technology, we want to talk about the culture of innovation that we have at Amazon. Some of you, as our partners and customers, you're already familiar how we innovate, but I'd like to talk about the culture first, because this is the approach that we are taking with our sports customers, but also specifically with Bundesliga. Then we will be talking about some of the work that we already achieved together with Bundesliga. And then Lukas will come to stage talking about Bundesliga's innovation story and their strategy, how they're approaching to continuously innovate. And then Bastian will come and talk about how they are embracing the generative AI and kind of what is next for Bundesliga. All right, so you've probably seen this before. This is our mission statement. Our mission is to be Earth's most customer-centric company. This is very broad, meaning it doesn't literally have restrictions or limitations about the markets that we enter, domains that we target for. It's not defined by industry, geography. We put customer at the center of everything that we do to continuously innovate. While this mission is all broad, but it's also very specific, because often tie-breaking question when we are trying to make decision, is this really customer obsessed, and what is it for our customers? So why we are putting customer on the center of our business? In 2016, Jeff Bezos, at the shareholder, he wrote a lot of benefits about being customer obsessed. But this highlighted one is one of the really good summary of customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied, even when they report being happy and business is great. Putting customer at the center of everything you do, we have endless inspiration and innovation to continuously innovate on behalf of our customers. One of the hallmark mechanism of being customer obsessed is working backwards. So this mechanism allows us to really start thinking what we want to achieve and work backwards from that. And meaning we start with an idea and then really look at the vision, what is it that we are trying to achieve, and then start working backwards to start implementing those ideas. And another one that I like to share is one-way, two-way door decision. This is a concept that we at Amazon really adopted, and we see our customers also adopting it. As you all know, speed matters in business. We have to make decisions that are fast and we can take to the market. So what we call those are one-way door decision. They are reversible, so it's like less risky. And there are two-way door decisions that have potentially longer-term consequences. So when we think about sports, we are thinking about team sports, clubs, a lot of action, and it's very fast. So it's important to start small, do a lot of experimentation, and really take the being speedy to take the products to the market. And this is another quote from our CEO and President Andy Jassy, we often say there's no compression algorithm for experience. Through the experimentation, starting slow and taking to larger steps and experimenting a lot, you're actually learning a lot throughout the process. And that's been the approach that we are taking also with Bundesliga, and you will hear from them later. All right, so let's talk about how we at AWS are transforming the sports industry using AWS Cloud. We are looking in different areas where we talk about sports at AWS. So the first area, probably something that you can relate to. There are so many data out there, and that's the case for sports as well. Imagine where every player, every ball position, every fan preference, and their basically behavior is being captured as a data. We use this data to build a data storytelling, actually also the performance metrics that can inform the clubs or the teams to make a better data-driven decision on their strategy, or improving on-field performance, and also providing a customized, personalized content for their fans based on their need. We also, with National Football League, we also have a prediction of injuries. So we collect 500 million data points per week for their player injury health and safety product. And the second area is the live cloud production. So producing high quality, low latency, sustainable cloud-based production enables us to create a personalized interactive fan experience. And the third area, now let's imagine you are walking into the stadium. You don't have to bring a bag, wallet, anything. You're just walking in, and you immediately are recognized through our Amazon One identity management system. And then you're going to concession stand with just walkout technology. Everything is basically at your fingertips, while IoT, Internet of Things, and sensors are providing on the background a sustainable experience for fans so that you don't have to wait on the line. So that's what Smart Venue targets. And the last but not least is the fan data and analytics. To super serve the fan, we really need to identify and understand them. We need to create personalized, individualized experience. And that starts with the data collection and creating unified 360 fan profiles where we can actually know about fans, where they come from, to be able to provide those individual experience for fans. Of course, generative AI, we see applications across the whole 4 areas. Many of the world's leading organizations are working with AWS, AWS Professional Services, and AWS partners to migrate, deploy, and innovative solutions. We are reshaping the sports industry, and there are a lot of use cases. But today, we are going to be focusing on Bundesliga. So let me start with a question. How many people in the audience have seen a Bundesliga game before? Okay. Pretty good majority. Football is not only about 90-minute game, right? And it's about emotion, ambition, passion. And in Germany, the level of football is overwhelming. Bundesliga has 26 million people watching the game live in this stadium every season. They have more than 1 billion fans worldwide that are following action. And our partnership with Bundesliga started in 2020, and we've been innovating since then. hope you felt some of the passion and energy that we are feeling in the stadium here. But before we dive into specific use cases, I'd like to talk about a little bit the data collection part, or what kind of data Bundesliga actually utilizes, because this is a foundation with a lot of the products that we do build together. So when we look at the Bundesliga data, we are looking at like kind of 4 levels. The first layer that you see here is actually the match footage. So Bundesliga has the world's largest football archive, soccer archive, and there are about more than 150,000 hours of historical match footage. And it's not just only about the video, but there are also metadata and the images as well. So the second layer is the sports data, and we are going to get into this a little bit more detail as we are talking about few products that are directly really using the sports data. And the level 3 is more insights, like the Bundesliga Matchfact advanced statistics that we built together with Bundesliga. And the top layer is the business data. Those are the data, the KPIs, or key performance indicators that we collect to help us inform making a decision. Are we really effective? Are we delivering the right thing? So it's kind of the feedback loop that we are collecting. Okay, let's talk about the sports data. So in sports data, every Bundesliga stadium has 16 to 20 different cameras that are located around the stadium. Those are not the broadcast cameras. They're actually tracking data. They're capturing data. So we collect about 25 times position of the player and the ball position 25 times per second. So in total, we collect 3.6 million data points per game. In addition to that, we also collect what we call event data. Those are the data, important events that are happening on the football field. So it's basically goal, penalty, corner kick, and so forth. So we collect this data, and we utilize this data to actually build products, which is something that I like to talk about next, Bundesliga Matchfacts. Those are, using this data, these are the real-time statistics called Bundesliga Matchfacts. The purpose of Bundesliga Matchfacts is really, the reason why we did this is to enhance fan experience and provide more insights into the game for fans. We collect the data, and with the AWS serverless architecture and using AWS services like Amazon SageMaker, we process this data, and we so far produce 15 Bundesliga Matchfacts in total. So let's see how they look like on the broadcast. Right. So next time when you watch the Bundesliga game, maybe you'll see some of those. Next, I like to move from broadcast to actually from data to personalization. So one of the most important digital distribution channel for us to connect with fans is the official Bundesliga app. We have millions of users, and since the beginning of our partnership, we've done a lot of work to create more personalized fan experience that I'd like to walk you through. So Bundesliga has Bundesliga 1 and Bundesliga 2. In total, they have 36 different clubs. So one of the ideas was, how can we really personalize the content and engage more fans? We did a survey for fans, and we find out that each fan is, on average, are following 4 different clubs, even if they have their favorite, but they still like to know more about the others as well. So each fan is unique with their own preferences. When you add like geography, demographics, and the additional data points that they're each unique preferences, you actually get a lot of data. So we get 1.4 million club combination, and in addition to that, their own preferences. So we put all that information into what we call Amazon Personalize to create a more personalized fan experience. So let's see what that looks like. So I personally follow 4 clubs, and what you see here is actually my screen. So those are the 4 clubs that I am supportive, at least for this season. And you see that I'm getting the personalized content based on my preferences that I pick. As soon as we launched the personalized, we also like to get the feedback and input to continuously improve and innovate. We saw 17% increase on app usage and 32% increase in sessions with the article read, and 67% increase on total articles that was read. Here, I also like to share, this is also official Bundesliga app, what the Bundesliga match facts or those advanced statistics look like. You're able to select at the team level or the player level, where you can really understand how your favorite player was performed, what was the shot of that, what was the speed of that shot that your favorite team player maybe performed in that game. So with that, I would like to invite Lucas to the stage to talk us about a little bit how Bundesliga is innovating and what strategy they are following. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Elif. Also welcome from my side. I'm Lucas, and I'm the head of strategic cooperations at DFL. And I was about to explain to you actually what Bundesliga and DFL is, but this audience seems to be quite familiar with Bundesliga. So just so you know, DFL is what's behind Bundesliga. So we organize Bundesliga and Bundesliga 2. Think of us a little bit like the NFL, but again, remember, no touchdowns, we score goals. All right, Elif has basically explained to you how this partnership has been successful for the last couple of years. I today want to focus more on what's next. What do we do with data and generative AI? But before I want to do that, we have to look at the foundation for that. And that's the working backwards method that Elif pointed out to as well. So why do we work backwards? Well, because we're customer obsessed, out of conviction, but also because we have to be. Why do we have to be customer centric? Because we have a very diverse fan base. We have millions of fans worldwide. In the APAC region alone, we have 400 million Bundesliga fans. And when it comes to Bundesliga content, those fans in the APAC region have fundamentally different desires compared to the fans that are the local fans that go to the stadium each and every week. We as a Bundesliga want to provide them with a personalized experience. And in order to do that, we have to understand their challenges to consume Bundesliga content in a way that they want to do so. And so we have to work backwards from these challenges, understand how to best apply technology to solve these solutions, and provide them with the content they need. That's number one. Number two is actually we innovate for our unique clubs. Our clubs are among the ones with the most tradition in the world, most passionate fan groups, and we have the second highest spectatorship behind the NFL stadium average attendance, actually, I should say, after the NFL in professional sports. As a Bundesliga, we're the home for all of these 36 clubs, and we want to help them grow internationally. The third reason, international partners, right? Our international broadcast partners are the ones making it all possible, and just like us, they have audiences themselves, and we want to provide them with a content offering that supports their business model. So, 3 target groups where we listen to, where we innovate upon, and where we implement solutions to help them. That is essentially the working backwards method of Amazon. And I think it's a testament to our partnership that we have implemented that in our corporate culture as well. And actually, we use Gen AI to help us in that process. So as part of our innovation process, we compile PR FAQ documents. These are documents that describe the solution from a point where we actually send out a press release, or would potentially send out a press release. And attached to that, there are frequently asked questions about the product and about the solution. This helps us internally to have clarity and transparency of what we want to achieve. And now we use Amazon Party Rock as an application to help us draft these documents. So we answer in Party Rock the most important customer questions, and Party Rock creates PR FAQ drafts that we can use then and iterate. We're just quicker to start to innovate by that. All right, that's all, the rather theoretical part. But theory is really the gray matter. It really matters what happens on the pitch. That's a famous saying of a Bundesliga legend. And so let's go closer to the pitch. For that, let's take a look at our strategy. Our strategy is what we call glass to glass, from the glass of the camera in the stadium until the glass of the device of the fan. We control the media value chain. So in terms of production, data, platforms and content, as well as pushing it out via our sales units, we control that media value chain. Why is that important? Because that allows us to use AWS services, expertise, know-how across this media value chain. So we don't have to go to any other third parties to ask them, hey, do you want to do that? We can decide that ourselves. That's also why the partnership that we have with AWS is focusing on the most important pillars of our media value chain, which is data, production, and the fan. And we want to create the next level of data services, media production, and fan experience powered by AWS. These are not just marketing slogans that we came up with. We actually came up with these together with our teams and the teams from AWS because this is our focus and our customers or fans' focus. So let me start with data services. In 2016, we started our JV Sportech Solutions, or STS as we call it, which is enabling us to control our official match data. Elif pointed out to that before. STS, as we call it, is not just providing data services for ourselves, but also for the FIFA or the MLS here in the US. And it all starts with the collection in the stadium. After that, the data is pushed to our Bundesliga data hub, which runs on AWS, where live analytics are performed, where data is stored, of course, where our data feeds are processed and delivered, and we build products upon that. Products like the Bundesliga match facts, our next-gen stats, products like live support for commentaries, and products like match centers, or as we call them, live tickers. On the latter two, let's focus on them. Our first use case here that we want to go a little deeper in is our Gen AI live ticker. Today, our fans already demand up-to-date, real-time information about games, right? That process, however, it's still quite manual, and it doesn't really allow us to scale. And the Gen AI live ticker is a fully automated solution that is based on our event data, and is providing a play-by-play text-based commentary, and it fills exactly that gap. Let's look at the solution. So you know that first part about the Bundesliga stadium, the members of Sportech Solutions actually collect that event data still quite manually. They push it to the Bundesliga data hub, and then let's look at our back-end solution that runs on AWS. As soon as an event is coming in, so an event like a yellow card or a goal, an AWS Lambda function is triggered that creates a prompt that asks Amazon Bedrock via an API call to create commentary on that event. And this then we want to provide that then for our Bundesliga ticker editors who watch the game at the same time and right now compile these ticker entries manually, and we want to support them by giving them these automated entries and reducing their workloads, and so they have more time for creativity. And we push it then out to our Bundesliga applications. How does it look like an action. So we have a game here. Borussia Dortmund is hosting their local rivals Bochum. It's a draw, just 15 minutes to play. Great pass, clinical finish, and of course, like in every Bundesliga stadium, the crowd is going absolutely bananas. So let's look at the solution with the live ticker in place. There's already an entry from minute 73, and now the pass is coming, and then the goal is scored. As soon as the goal is scored, there's an automatically created goal card with a player picture included and the context of the goal created. So this is all done within roughly 7 seconds. It's still way ahead of the broadcasting signal, which is important because we need to be fast. So that's automation. But we also have personalization here, and we have the opportunity to provide this live ticker in basically each and every language that we desire. So that's a lot of opportunities and potential for our D2C ambitions. Other than just localization, we can also adjust the prompts that it more fits to younger audiences, for example. So on the left-hand side, you see the that we call the sports journalist style. However, on the right-hand side, you see what we call the bro code or the bro style, and it's more targeted for younger audiences. Let me be honest, we don't know yet if that really resonates with that audience. We have to check that. But this is basically to show you what's possible and how we can scale such a solution. So bringing it all together, while previously the whole process was a mixture of human intelligence, artificial intelligence combined, we are confident that we can actually automate that to a very, very high extent. We still want content moderation and the human flavor in between because we are a passionate product. We want to be close to our fans. But in terms of growth, in terms of personalization, and in terms of productivity, we need the technology to support our teams. Let's look at example number 2. It's our data story finder. So the data story finder is a solution that provides real-time insights for our B2B customers via our commentary live system. So data stories that they can feed to our fans via broadcast. This is all done in what we call the commentary live system. We'll take a look at that in a bit. Why do we do that? Like, what's the reason behind it? Well, because both fans and broadcasters alike, they are looking for data stories. They're looking for the deeper story of the game. And data now allows us to tell these stories, for example, via Bundesliga match facts, but they don't have the time, be it in pre-match, post-match, also during the match, to look for these statistics, look for the data stories, and have the time to actually query them. So that's where the data story finder comes in and supports our B2B partners. This is our commentary live system. So we provide our commentators with personal player data, team data, Bundesliga match facts data, comparisons, so they have everything that they need at their fingertip. So as soon as an event is coming in, for example, in this case, it's a goal, Eintracht Frankfurt scores the first goal of the game, we automatically support them with context to that goal. So in that case, the commentator can already say, hey, after leading 1-0, it's very unlikely for Frankfurt to lose a game, because we know that from the data. As well as exceptional performances or records, we can easily detect in our database because we all access the same structured database which runs on AWS. You can see here an example of a speed alert from a Bundesliga match fact system, which is, as I said, easily to detect for the data. How does the solution look like? So it's, I don't have to go through the data collection part again. We all know that by now, I'm sure. And then we have basically a rule set system that says, hey, as soon as an event is triggered and as soon as we detect a data story like, there's a goal, for example, provide context to that goal. As soon as you detect a record out of the system, someone going up in a top scorer list, that is an automatic text provided for the commentator. Generative AI comes into play when we think about match summaries. So as soon as a halftime whistle is happening or a full-time whistle is happening, this triggers again an AWS Lambda function, which then creates, via an API call to Bedrock, a summary based on these data stories plus event data. So our commentators can use that post-game, but also for analysis at halftime. Similar to the AI live ticker, I said we use the same data, but also, let's be honest, human beings are also capable of detecting these kind of records or these kind of data stories. It's nothing that is just possible with technology. But scaling it and doing it in real time when you actually need it, how can you do that when we add 3 terabytes of data each season? It's close to impossible for human beings to keep up with that. So this is why we think also here we can automate to a very high extent and provide these services automatically in the future. What's next for data? 3 things, and we want to start with what? A chatbot? No, right? We don't want to do a chatbot. Well, we do, however, want an interface that solves an issue that we don't solve so far. Because we provide data stories, yes, but they are always kind of one-directional. And what if the commentator needs a story from a player that is sitting on the bench? You know, they need data from him. And the event data that is automatically triggering the stories doesn't provide them with these kind of stories. So we want kind of a conversational opportunity for our commentators to engage with that data. And why just offering to commentators when you can offer the same also for our fans? So that's also something that we're after. And then there's skeletal data. So I'm sure by now everybody here knows 3.6 million tracking points per match. Where do you think this is going in the future? Any ideas? We multiply that roughly by 40, starting basically next season. That's a lot of additional data coming in for performance analytics, for health, and also for gamification. And then there's automation. You know by now that process is right now quite manual. We are in the process of making this more automated using algorithms and AI, because this will help us to create more efficiency. And we already see that our solutions that we have in an MVP phase right now provide 95% of accuracy when it comes to the foundational base event data. So we are very confident that we can go to a semi-automated solution in the future. All right, that's it from my side. I'll pass over to Bastian for his part. Thank you very much.
Okay. This is football.
It's just a game.
22 players, some chasing a ball, others stopping it.
Nothing serious.
This is just a regular weekend.
And these are just numbers.
Numbers that change
When the ball hits the back of the net.
Over and over.
And over again.
This is just history being made.
And this is just football.
But it means everything.
So, this is one of more than 10,000 content assets we produce every year to bring the fascination of the Bundesliga to the fans out there in the world. But we want to do more, right? And we just said it before, we already have this 1 billion people that we reach through all the contents that we produce. But we want to reach the next billion of fans. And Lucas was just stating it before. To do so, we need to be the most fan-centric league in the world. Because there's one pity. Of those billions of fans out there, there are just a few who really enjoy the game in the stadium. And it's totally different if you have once enjoyed a game in the stadium and felt that passion that is happening there, compared to when you sit in front of a glass and consume video content, for example, or articles or whatever. And this is what we need to do. We need to bring this joy, these emotions, as best as we can to the fans out there. So, being fan-centric has a lot of dimensions, and I'm not going to tackle all of those dimensions today, but there are a few. If you want to reach more people, you need to think about accessibility, right? So how can you make content accessible to people? It's about channels, how many channels do you have, but it's also about language, right? We know from research that people prefer to consume content in their mother tongue, right? And that is a threshold for us as of today, because most of the content that we produce is in English, is in Spanish, is in German, and then there's just a few contents that we produce in other languages, which we then push out through different channels. So language is really key to address the next billions of people out there. But it's not only about language, it's also about localization. And let me give you one example. A commentator in Brazil is celebrating a goal totally different than a commentator in Germany, for example, does, right? I'm not doing it how they do it, but you can imagine they shout the word goal for minutes, right? And the German commentator says, that was a nice goal, great. If we now would only translate speech to speech, for example, the German commentary in a highlight video to a Brazilian Portuguese commentary, it would not be authentic, right? Those people consuming the content in Brazil would think, this sounds a little bit awkward, because that's not the way they consume that content, right? And as I have stated before, it's a lot about emotions, right? Football is a lot about emotions. And therefore we need to translate these emotions again, and there are other characters to localization, which I will show you later on. So this is really key for us when we think about how can we address more people in a way that we can scale it. And I think this is a question a lot of you have asked or have heard throughout the last month, right? And of course there is an AI for that, and it's generative AI, which can help us to scale content production, localize in different languages in the upcoming months. So let's start with the broadcast portfolio that we produce. Of course we produce the live games, but in addition to the live games, we produce a vast amount of shoulder programming. We produce that in English. We produce some parts of it in German. We produce some parts of it in Spanish. And that's basically it. If we think again about accessibility, localization, helping our broadcast partners in the world to have content that they can put on their OTT or on their broadcast channels, it totally makes sense to think about how can we A, translate and B, localize this content. And let me give you some examples. So we do have a Bundesliga highlight show, right? Which is more or less 40 minutes of highlight clips of those games, right? They are in English. It's easy to translate that stuff in the future in all other languages, right? Which then helps the broadcast partners to put it on their channels again, because they don't have any additional cost to produce it, right? And of course, if we think about Indonesia, Bahasa, at the moment we don't produce the highlight show in Bahasa. Maybe the broadcast partner doesn't do it as well and just puts it on the channel in English if they put it on the channel. If they don't put it on the channel, the likelihood is much higher if we just deliver the highlight show, for example, in Bahasa, right? Same as the Bundesliga weekly show, which is a format which somehow looks back at the last match day and somehow looks into the future, what is happening on the next match day. So same here, right? We can just translate that, localize that, and provide it to our broadcast partners. And the third one is the Bundesliga midweek interview. You can imagine it's an interview where we send a team with a camera and anything that you need to a player, and we do an interview 30, 40 minutes, maybe in their home, right? In the future, I could think about sending a Word document with questions to that player. He and the PR department of the club is answering them, sending back the Word document, and I could create a synthetic video out of it, where I never ever need to send out any kind of camera team or any content guys to produce that kind of a video format, right? And then I can just produce that video in any language that we want to, right? So that really, really helps us to broaden our, let's say, broadcast portfolio, and with that we manage to get better in accessibility for the fans, and we can create better stories for them. Then, of course, we have digital channels, right? And of course, we do have an app, we do have a website, we do have a fan fantasy manager. And the app, as of now, for example, is in German, is in English, and it's static in Spanish. That's it. And static in Japanese, and that's it. If I would think about now creating apps in any kind of language, of course, Gen AI will help us there as well. And then I have another accessibility, and I have another localization. And with the personalization features we were already talking about, and I'm thinking more about individualization, which is more to me than just personalization. We do have apps in any language tailored to every one of you. Every one of you gets his or her own app in your language with the content that you like, with the stats that you like, and so on and so forth. And the same is for operated channels, right? We use social media channels like every sports organization and more or less every company does. Use it for the top funnel marketing, right? So to convince people that the Bundesliga is a great league and it's worth to follow it. And we do have social media channels in English, and that's it. We don't even do it in German. And what we do is we do geo-targeted postings and contents for several languages, but that's it, right? And here again, I don't need to tell the story from A to Z. It's the same, right? I can create any kind of social media channel in any language. And again, I have accessibility, top funnel marketing, where I can bring the joy of the Bundesliga to those people again in their language, right? So there's a lot of opportunities for us when we think about accessibility, language, and also localization of it, right? But once again, it's not about translation. If you just stop at translating stuff, it could work for some pieces, but it will not bring the joy to the people out there. And then there's digital campaigns. We do a lot of brand campaigns, right? It's about season start. It's about the Bundesliga still has a winter break, right? And we need to tell people that the winter break is over, the next match day is ahead, right? And we are having brand campaigns around our most important games like the Klassiker. It's Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund. For this, and this is for a year, we create those 707 match day graphic assets. We create those almost 400 non-match day graphic assets, and we create 846 videos. We create this for our own channels, but we also have to create this for our broadcast partners in the specific territories, and we also have to create this for our clubs. At the moment, it's all done manually. So every time we do those graphics for Bayer Leverkusen, for Borussia Dortmund, for Bayern Munich, there is a graphic designer who is designing those graphics for the clubs. If we produce it for ESPN Plus or for Sky Perfect in Japan or for any other broadcaster, it's also amended by a human being, right? In the future, this will be different, right? In the future, Gen AI will help us to do all this stuff, localize it, and even localize it with other players, right? So if we now would do a graphic for ESPN in the US, of course it makes sense to put in American players that are playing in the Bundesliga, right? In the future, the AI will do that, right? We just tell them it's America, use an American player, use the ESPN logo, and go for it, right? And then we can scale in languages, we can scale for broadcast partners, we can scale for influencers, we can do whatever we want to do, and we can do it at scale, right? At the moment, I would have to build up resources and resources for which I don't have the money at the moment, right? Of course, there is a cost to AI as well, we know that, but it's not comparable to bringing up people and setting up agencies and so on and so forth. So that's a glimpse of where Gen AI will help us to scale content, to create more accessibility, to localize content, to tell different stories as we are doing right now. But of course, we're also thinking about new content formats. So how can Gen AI help us to create new stuff? Less for the topic of accessibility, less for the topic of language and localization. Of course, we can put that in there as well. But we thought about how can we deal with, for example, retention and engagement, right? And what we did, we created the Bundesliga stories. So what is the Bundesliga stories? When I talk about stories, it's pretty much the same format that you know from social media, right? So circles where content is behind those circles in Instagram, Facebook, and you name it. So at the moment, we are creating more or less 4,000 articles, right? They are mostly created for the website because they are used for SEO purposes. Those articles have around 800 words in average, right? So we have a content asset of which we thought, okay, how can we leverage this, for example, to the app? So what we were thinking about to say, okay, let's take those articles and let's think about how can we use technology to create a new format out of this article that is already there and create the Bundesliga stories for the app. And in the end, this is what it looks like, right? We just take the article and with the article as a basis, we create those Bundesliga stories. And I just tell you how this happens. So first, we take the back-end article, right, which has the words, which has the JSONs, which has the HTML in there, and we normalize this article because there's a lot of information we don't need to create a story. Then the team does the prompt engineering, and you can imagine the prompt is not a prompt that we put into ChatGPT when we want to get an answer to something. It's a very sophisticated, more than 100, 200, 300 lines of a prompt where we tell, especially Bedrock, what to do, right? So we tell them, take the article and create 10 slides or 5 slides. We tell them, use photos. We tell them, use citations of the article, and so on and so forth. So we give the instructions with that prompt to the system. We create metadata almost automatically, right? There are photos, for example, in articles. So we use AWS recognition to create metadata of the players that are covered in the photos so that the system knows, okay, if I'm now creating a slide with Harry Kane, there's already a picture from Harry Kane. And of course, this picture then needs to be cropped, right, from 16:9 to 9:16. And all the other metadata that you need is created there. Then what I said, there's an image selection, right, because the story is 10 slides and every slide needs to have a photo. So the image creation is done. And in the end, the story is created. It just takes a minute and that's it, right? What we do is we still have the chance to have a human in the loop. So within our own CMS, which we build on our own, the team created an editor where a human being can still have a look at those 10 slides that were created. And if the crop of a photo is not correct, the editor can do right and left and take the right sizing for the cropping. Maybe there isn't a photo in there because there's a citation of a doctor of a team of which we don't have a photo. So the editor can say, okay, we take that slide out. It's just a 9 slider or we do something else there. So at the end, there's still the possibility of a human in the loop. But to be honest, my hope is that pretty soon, no more human in the loop is needed because the system is so good that we can just fire it out, right? So what does that mean? You know that the diagram from all the other things we are doing. In the end, we take out a lot of human intelligence because it's not needed anymore, and we use artificial intelligence. Important for us is we never ever do that to cut away people, right? It's not about cutting away people, it's about creating something new with the use of technology, because otherwise we would have not been in the position to create those stories, because budget-wise we wouldn't have done it, right? And even if we do something else, like we do AI match reports, for example, right? Which is, for an editor, a quite boring task, right? It's just writing down what has happened on the pitch during the 90 minutes, right? They don't really love to do that. We are now doing that with AI as well, which is pretty amazing, because you don't feel any difference between the AI match report, which is done by AI, compared to what has been done by humans before. And now they have the time to do the stuff they like, right? So that is how we think about it at the moment. So, and of course, we can use tools that are out there to create new contents as well, right? And here's one example.
Have you ever heard about generative AI?
Yes, I have. They use artists' voice to generate music that they create on AI.
Today we're here with AWS and they have a new tool. It's called Party Rock. Would you like to create your dream pitch today?
Sure.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
What about the location?
This is in the mountains. At nighttime, dark, you can see the stars. It's a little bit chilly, a little bit cold, but I'm from Canada, so I'm used to it. So, with the mountains and the skyline, obviously with the stars, I like it. I think we'll get distracted from the mountains, just a long ball, you'll be like, wow, beautiful, and then mishandle the ball. Hi, I'm Alfonso Davies. I'm with Bundesliga and AWS. Party Rock, everyone can build AI apps.
So that's one example which we created on our Media Days. So what is the Media Days? The Media Days is a format where at the beginning of the season, we go to every club. We have a time window of up to 3 hours where we create content with all the players and all the stuff, right? It's from photos, as you can see, to social media content, anything that you need, content for our media partners, content for our sponsoring partners and commercial partnerships, like tops. All the tops cards are photographed there and then produced afterwards. We are now able to bring in remotely editors from Sky Perfect from Japan to directly talk to Japanese players, right? They don't have to fly over anymore. We can just do it via the system, right? And then they can tell the Japanese players what they would like to hear from them, right? As promotional support for Sky Perfect, for example. So that's really, really cool that we have those Bundesliga Media Days. And of course, Party Rock is one example. We all know those tools out there which we can use as long as it's legally fine, I would say, which we can use to create contents and contents and contents. It's not about only creating content, it's also about creating more efficiency in all those operational tasks that there are out there today. So, what's next? And what are we doing together with AWS based on the roadmap that Elif was referring to at the very beginning? We are now thinking about how we can deal with intelligent metadata creation. So where can Gen AI help us to create metadata? And we all know, right, data is the basis to use AI, right? And we produce a lot of content, a lot of video content, which is still somehow locked and needs to be locked and tagged, right? But there is possibilities and tools out there which can help us to do that in a more efficient way and gather much more quantitative and qualitative data. We were talking about content localization. We are right now, and I will show you an example afterwards, discussing with AWS and doing the first MVPs and POC, which tools to use to do this translation and then the content localization. And we start with speech to text. And of course, we would love to have speech to speech or even Gen AI commentary live for the live games, right? That is the holy grail to me, if we manage to do that in different languages with all the challenges and hurdles there are out there. That would be fascinating, but we are aiming for stuff like that. Then we are thinking about Bundesliga Insights, which is a little bit to help internal users of our archive and the MUM system that we have to find content in a better way, right? And we are thinking about how we could deal with push notifications, because push notifications is, for us, a very strong tool to bring people back into the app, right? But here again, it's about how many people do you have to create editorial push notifications, not just system-based push notifications. And there we are thinking about how we could leverage Gen AI as well, right? And let me just make one final sentence on that. The stories that we had, I was referring to engagement and retention. And those people in the app who use the stories show much better retention rate and show much higher time spent in app, right? So the hypothesis that we had with creating this new format for more engagement and more retention and more time spent in app was, I would say, verified at that stage. But this is what we are focusing on. It just looks like 4 points on a PowerPoint slide. It's a lot of work that we have to do, right, to get where we want to get. But the teams are making great progress, and as I'm saying, I'm happy that we can partner here with AWS because they really help us to get to the next level. So here's just one example.
Kane delivers. He's taken the Bundesliga by storm. His season has been a goal-scoring procession across Germany. The captain of England, ripping up the Bundesliga. He scored 36 goals in his first Bundesliga campaign, a feat no player had previously achieved. Only Gerd Müller and Robert Lewandowski have ever entered a Bundesliga campaign with more goals.
So this is the first test that we did when we were referring to content localization with Content OS, how we call it, right? I'm pretty sure every translation that was in there and every localization was 100% correct. I didn't check it at all, but the team said it's all fine. So because I said, is that all cool? I will be with that in Las Vegas at AWS reInvent. There will be people from everywhere over the world. If there is shit in there, people will tell me, right? So please make it good, and I think it is good. So this is the first test. As I said, it is speech to text, right? And the holy grail is to make it in every language, even more languages than there, speech to speech. People not ever feeling that this is a machine doing it. It's just a human being translating and localization and localizing the stuff that we do. So that's it from me. Elif and Lucas. Thank you very much for attending that session. And if you have any questions, we will be around for a few minutes. So thank you very much and all the best to you.